Whenever AI is discussed in education, the conversation often jumps straight to the sort of scary, catastrophizing questions. Is AI going to replace teachers? Are our children going to stop needing to learn things because they can outsource their thinking to the machines? Will schools even exist in their current form in 10 years' time? And these are all quite exciting questions because they're so terrifying, but I actually think they're entirely the wrong questions. The most important thing is actually very simple. So the age of AI doesn't change how children learn. What AI does do, however, is it changes how we can support the way that we as children, adults, humans learn. So I want to give you 3 ideas to hold on to. First, AI should support great teachers and not replace them. Secondly, knowledge actually matters more than ever in an AI world. And thirdly, the best educational technology should give children better feedback and more personalized practice, not more screen time. Does AI replace teachers? No. And I think that the media gets this story badly wrong. The mistake that people make is imagining that a teacher's job is only to deliver information. And if that were true, then yes, actually AI would look very threatening to teaching, but great teachers do far more than simply deliver information. They notice when your son or daughter has lost confidence. They notice when a child is anxious or bored, or worse of all, pretending to understand when they don't. They motivate, they build relationships, they create classroom cultures where effort matters and actually mistakes are a part of learning. They choose the right moment to push and the right moment to hold back. And at the moment, there is no singular AI system that does all of those things reliably, not even close. What AI can do is to help teachers spend less time on some of the routine parts of their work, assessing correct and incorrect answers, identifying gaps, generating practice material that's targeted and personalized to each individual student, allowing teachers to spend more time on the deeply human parts. A surgeon, for example, now has tools, laser tools, robotic tools that would have seemed miraculous 30 years ago, and yet those tools have not replaced surgery or the surgeon. They've made the surgeon more effective, and that's the right model for AI in education as well. The future of education isn't about teacher versus tech. It's great teachers using better tools. When it comes to education, I think this is probably the biggest misconception about AI in education, because a child and indeed an adult can now ask an AI for the answer. They no longer need to learn for themselves. I think that's exactly wrong. Our working memory, that is the part of the brain that does thinking, is actually very limited, probably to 5 plus or minus 2 items at any given moment. Long-term memory is where our knowledge lives, and actually the more knowledge that a child has stored in their long-term memory, the more thinking power is freed up in that working memory. If they instantly know the answer to 8 plus 7 is 15, then their brain can move straight on to the harder part of the problem. But if they have to stop and count on their fingers, then all of their mental energy is being spent on the basic calculation, and there's not an awful lot left over for the actual thinking. And the same principle applies across every subject. A child can't think critically about what a text means if all their effort is going into decoding the words and putting the letters together. A student can't evaluate whether an AI's explanation of the Second World War is accurate if they've got absolutely no idea about the Second World War and its causes. They can't spot a flawed AI answer about the human body if they've never actually learned how the human body works. Knowledge isn't the opposite of thinking, it's actually what makes thinking possible. And there's another good reason why knowledge matters even more now. If you've ever conversed with a large language model, you'll know that AI systems are very agreeable. And in fact, AI systems agree with the users far more than a human friend or colleague necessarily would. And this includes situations where the user of the large language model is actually making a poor decision or a factual mistake, And quite often, unless you correct the AI and say, but actually that's wrong, they'll say, oh yes, you're right, forgive me for my mistake. So in other words, AI is not a neutral fact checker. It can actually be dangerously agreeable. It tends to tell you what you want to hear rather than challenge you. A great teacher actually does the opposite. A great teacher notices when you've misunderstood something and says so, even when that's uncomfortable. So the more powerful AI becomes, the more important it is that children have enough knowledge in their own minds to use it critically. Otherwise, they're not evaluating AI, they're just trusting it. Imagine, again, a teacher is teaching fractions to a class of 30 children. And at the end of the lesson, a third of those 30 children have mastered it and they're ready to move on. Another third of the class need a few more examples before it truly clicks. And then there's another third of the class that actually has spent about 20 minutes of the lesson completely misunderstanding the concept entirely. And with the best will in the world, a good teacher cannot simultaneously deliver 30 different lessons or 30 different answer points. Historically, the best we've been able to do is to move each cohort through the same age-related content at the same time. But what this typically means is that the child who'd already mastered fractions was bored. And then the child who'd misunderstood it spent the next 20 minutes practicing their mistakes. And the last one is actually particularly damaging because practicing mistakes is actually what embeds them, and then we have to unpick that later. However, we're now at the point where good adaptive learning platforms change this. After each learning moment, an adaptive learning platform analyzes exactly how each child has performed and responds accordingly. So the child who's mastered fractions receives harder questions. The child who needs more practice gets it, and then the child who's misunderstood can receive targeted and corrective feedback either from the adaptive learning platform or indeed from their teacher in the classroom. The teacher then sees that data on a live dashboard and decides whether any further intervention is needed. So you can see the technology here isn't replacing the teacher, it's giving every child more feedback than any teacher could possibly provide on their own live in real time. And it's a bit like the old piano analogy. So if your child, as you know, is learning a musical instrument, their teacher might see them once a week for their 25 to 40 minute lesson, and then your child is left to practice. But imagine if the piano itself could tell them after every single note where they got it wrong. And imagine that there was a machine that could actually adjust the difficulty accordingly in the now, so that they're not hitting the wrong notes, they hit the right note and they improve far quicker. Wouldn't that be great? Well, this is exactly what adaptive learning can do for academic subjects in the classroom. The teacher remains essential to this, but the technology dramatically increases the quality and the quantity of the practice that each child gets. So, if you're evaluating adaptive learning platforms, I would ask 3 questions. Firstly, does it improve the quality and the quantity of the feedback that your child receives? Does it allow your child to practice at their right level specifically? And does it support and inform the teacher rather than bypassing the teacher? And if your answer to all of these 3 questions is yes, the technology is probably adding genuine value. If it's simply replacing human interaction with screen time, however, then I would be supremely cautious. Used badly, AI is going to create shortcuts and dependency and false confidence, but used well, it's going to help children practice more effectively, receive better feedback, and move at the pace that's right for them. AI can help children learn, but it can't do the learning for them. And remember, if AI does the thinking, then AI is what is doing the learning.